We good to go? We live? You live on your IG, Jason?
Brody. We're live, Brody. Let's do it.
Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. I'm your co-host, Stratton Brown, aka Strat Daddy. I've scaled 2 different companies to 7 figures. Right now, I'm on a journey to net $1 million a month wholesaling houses. Right now, the first goal is to get to $1 million net in 6 months. You can follow all of it on Facebook and YouTube, and it's been a hell of a journey. I'm documenting everything, so by the end of it, you will know how to build a decently sized company for free.
Congrats on closing the first deal, Brody.
$6,000, a hand job, and a bottle of Tito's. You know,
it
like
works.
What else?
It works, bro. Take it. Next one's gonna be 60, bro. I feel it.
Thank you on that one. And then we got a bunch fucking closing out, but novations have been a game changer. I will say novations nationwide have been the thing. We have the master of hair with the same shout out Simply.
Shout out to Shanae.
Shout out to
and
Shanae.
Sherrod and Simply. Great system they've got over there.
The master of hair, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
No hair today, guys. I'm wearing the hat. This is your other co-host, Jason Pritchard. Backstory on me is I worked in corporate America for 15 years. Hated my job, was unhappy with my life. We burned all of the boats in 2014, started investing in real estate full-time, and have not looked back ever since. We've done 450 deals. We've got a rental portfolio just north of 100 units based here in Central California. And our goal, as always with this pod, is to try to transfer as many real-life learning lessons and value to you guys that are watching, so you don't have to make the same mistakes as we do, and you can grow your businesses further and faster.
Is today. Mike, what's going on, bro? I need you to stay on to see our special guest, bro.
Watch the guest, bro. Don't log out yet.
If you were watching this live, I don't think I can hype up this guest enough for us. I mean, the All In podcast thinks they're big. We're big. If you want me to be real, Jason.
Not anymore after this.
Not anymore after this, bro. Guys, welcome our special surprise guest, Mr. Donald Trump.
Hello. Yes, this is going to be big. It's going to be huge. Okay. Never seen it huger. Okay. People love it. Love huge. This is going to be big. Okay. Let me tell you. Hello, good American people. I'm excited to be on the Deal Champs podcast. The best I've ever seen do it. The best I've ever seen. No one's ever done it better. And I'm here to set the record straight on several things. Okay. Number one, you can see that I'm all right. I got my upper ear pierced and it got a little messy. Unbelievable how much the ear bleeds. One of the places on the body that bleeds the most. I asked the doctors why it bled so much, and they said one of the most bloody places. One of the most. Jokes aside, someone misunderstood what MAGA means. It's not make assassinations great again. I'm thinking about changing it to make assassinations go away, but thankfully God was looking after me, and I decided I was meant to be here to fight. Yeah. Lots of rumors who it was, like al-Baghdadi. Couldn't be Baghdadi. I eliminated him. Al-Qaeda, China. Maybe it was China. Whoever it was, Hillary Clinton. They did a bad job. A very bad job. The worst I've ever seen do it. My daughter, Ivanka, could have done it better. Not only is she one of the most beautiful women in the world, she's gorgeous. She's one of the most talented that I've ever known. Next thing I wanted to address, Sleepy Joe. I believe he took a nap and no one woke him up. He's in hibernation now. I'm not too sure, but I doubt the Dems will let him speak on camera or at least be around other people again. Very strange what's going on there. But that's because they know they've lost, right? The American people want to be great again, just like the Deal Champs podcast. Deal Champs is making podcasts great again. And for that, you are real Americans. In fact, one host I appreciate the most is a real American. I'd call him Captain America. Just like a superhero, he was in the NFL. And then like all heroes who fell on tough times, he rose to greatness while having a bunch of kids. Now that's American, 4 kids and maybe some more. We'll see. That's a real American. It's a tragedy. The Strat Daddy, you calling him terrible nickname. he didn't deserve that. You know, he was late just 2 times while in Europe with his family, doing the podcast at 1 a.m. in the morning. He's just a great guy. One of the best, incredible person. I just ask you, don't call him that terrible nickname again. It's really bad. Not good. He deserves to be Captain America. Yeah. Well, that's all I have. I really have to go. Deal Champs is an American story, a great community, incredible leaders, really some of the best I've ever seen, especially Captain America. So make podcasts great again. Okay. Bye-bye now, America.
What
Epic.
a level. Oh my God. Salute.
Epic.
Captain America's back.
Captain America is back. Let's bring Captain America back to the stage.
Sleepy Dean is officially nicknamed.
Sleepy Dean is gone.
Let's go.
Sleepy Dean is gone
Come
forever.
on. Does that
Salute.
do the job? Come on.
That's right.
Oh,
You did
bro,
it. It's done.
It's done, bro. Sleepy Dean will never be uttered out of my mouth ever again.
I've been waiting for this day. I've just been, having a tough time sleeping the past month, losing lots of sleep, and at times ashamed and embarrassed when I get messages from friends and students and other people in the community saying, Sleepy Dean, haha, Stratton got you. I'm like, no, not again. Can't do it again. So I had to go all out. You guys called me out. You said this was the only way to do it. I know Shanae was really excited for it. She's on the chat right now. She said, oh my God. Michael McDonald says, is this the real Donald Trump?
It was so good. You thought it was the real Donald.
Oh man. That was fun to get in a character and put that script together.
We have the best podcast on earth, officially.
God, that's it.
I think you took it over, Dean. I think you took it to the moon. We're gonna go viral for sure now.
So I went outside before to tell my family that I was going in the podcast and don't be kicking the door down. And they all looked at me like I was mentally insane. And my kids all like rushed up. My baby, my 1.5-year-old looking at me just like, what is this? Like, oh my God. My wife was actually laughing about it. It was pretty good.
I'm so glad we saved it for this week because he was going to dress up last week, and I was like, "Nah, bro, save it for the pod."
It wasn't going to be as good. Yeah,
perfect timing, bro. My chat in my IG is lit, bro. Everybody loves it, dude. Going crazy. They're going crazy. It's fucking going wild, dude. I love it.
Hell yeah! All right, Dean, you want to give yourself Captain America? I'm sorry, you want to give yourself a quick little intro?
Yes, Captain America here, your other co-host, aka Dean Rogers. For those that don't know me, I started my career in the NFL, then I got into corporate, then transitioned into real estate, changed my life forever. Been doing that for just over 10 years now. We've done over 650 deals. We're back into the rental game, making sure I don't have a bunch of taxes again like last year, and have an 8-figure portfolio. Coaching students how to get started in real estate with wholesaling. Just onboarded one of my previous coworkers from my corporate job into the coaching program. That's like a full circle moment, dude. He's like, dude, I had no idea you were doing that. Like, I should have been paying more attention. And I mean, it's just fun. So you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com, where you can learn more about Captain America.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
All right. Do we start off with like the headline? Because I think it's a hell of a headline.
It's a headline.
We're
right
short
there.
on time. This is a good one. Yeah.
All right. So the topic is, should you divorce your spouse if they don't support your entrepreneurial journey?
Ooh, brutal.
Let's hear from Captain America first.
Oh, I'm hitting it off. Okay. So this is such a heavy loaded, emotionally charged headline because there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this right now that are not finding support at home. Mm-hmm. Whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's, your spouse, you could have kids old enough to where they don't support you. Right. I mean, this is risky to most people, right? Making up a random statistic here, but 90% of Americans would think we're crazy for doing this. This is too risky. This is too challenging. You don't have enough money. You're not skilled enough. Who do you think you are? So to not find support at home is really tough, but it's probably not all that uncommon, which is really tough. I I can say right now, if I wouldn't have had the support from my wife to just go out there and just go after it, make mistakes, it was on me, have success, it was on me. Like, she never stood up and said, you've got to stop. She definitely said when I effed up, hey, I told you shouldn't have worked with that guy, which she was right. Like, she has better intuition than I do.
Always after you make the mistake, they like
always
to point
after
out. They
right.
knew.
She was
They
ready.
knew. Yeah.
She gave me some hints like, hey, that guy's a little weird. But, the mistakes that I made that were really, soul crushing and devastating that set us back as a family early on in my career. Despite saying I kind of told you should have looked out for that guy, she never made me feel like crap. She never said, you've got to quit. You're a loser. Like, these are real things that I'm sure many people get. So, and that's if you have failures. Imagine if you're just trying to get going or you have some success, you could still be getting pushback. So I think it's incredibly, incredibly difficult, near impossible to get to where you want to get, which is probably abundance and freedom and all these things, without the support. It's really hard. So the question is, should you divorce your spouse? I mean, you should have a serious conversation. I mean, as to whether this is something you can both be on board with or not, because otherwise it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be really difficult. As it's the evening time and someone wants to Netflix and chill and you're sitting there wanting to work on your business, how is that going to go over? How is that relationship going to continue forward? And I know I tirelessly, to the detriment and sacrifice of the relationship, put in the time and effort and sacrifice to get ahead and to be where we're at now. Right. So yeah, I would say it's got to be damn near impossible to get to where you want to be without the support of your spouse. I mean, I'm sure some have done it, but I'm sure those relationships haven't lasted.
No.
I'll chime in, dude, because this is a big one, dude, that Jen and I talk about a lot. I always say that the spouse or the partner that you pick is one of the biggest decisions, if not the most important decision when you're getting ready to start this business. And that could not ring more true for me. I've said this a lot. I'll say it again. Jennifer was there for me and believed in me more than I even believed it myself at the beginning, dude. I was going through a really, really difficult time when I first started to get into real estate, and I needed that mental support, you know what I mean, to make me feel like I had the confidence to go through and see this. And just the same as you said, Dean, every time I screwed up, every time I made a mistake, she never made me feel bad. She never made me feel like an idiot or that I was putting like everything at risk. If anything, she encouraged me to keep going. And I think you really need that. To the question, I think it's kind of a polarizing question. Should you divorce your spouse if you don't support your entrepreneurial journey? I think the right answer is it depends, but let me flip it a little bit. I think a lot of people, and we know a lot of people like this, when they're getting ready to jump into this game or pursue a business or pursue their dreams, they do a lot of talking and they don't do a lot of backing it up. And I think if your spouse is not supportive or questioning or whatever, your job as the driver or the entrepreneur in this business is to get to proof of concept as fast as humanly possible. And proof of concept typically is a closed deal with money in the bank, at least in our businesses it is, right? And every single time you talk a really big game and then you don't produce a result, or you talk a big game and then you pivot, or you don't show and prove that support, don't go back and keep asking for support when you're not living up to your end of the bargain. So I think before you even approach, should I divorce my spouse, you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I living up to my end of the bargain as the person that's the driver here, before you even get close to thinking about something as big as like walking away from your marriage because they're not being supportive. So you got to show and prove for sure.
I guess that we always think like when we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. And that's never been a question, because over the, let's say, last 5-10 years, if we go out and set out to do something, we just start taking action. And so we don't doubt what's going to happen. To where most people, I'd say the reason most new people fail is they just don't stick to it, right? They are all talk and they say they're going to do this. They say they're going to change their life. Then nothing happens. They lack the action that's needed and it all falls apart. I got this from Andy Frisella, and I think this one's huge. It is, You cannot fight a war at home and fight a war in business at the same time.
No.
Because every day, like today, I had 9 fires with escrows of me getting kicked in the balls. And then if I have to go home and my wife was like, why are you fucking working so much, you piece of shit, blah, 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 this and that. Or if she's like, hey, you lost $100,000 on this investment, what's going on? That is going to make your life absolute misery. I would say the biggest thing for me, Kalani has been with me since I was like homeless. So like she's been there in and out, thick and thin. And that's the reason, I mean, I love her because I know she's like, hey, I have faith in you and everything else. We lost $100,000 on Amazon stores.
Yep.
And she was just like, hey, yep, that sucks. We'll keep it going. ERC, we're owed tons of money. I committed 1.5 years to it. And she was like, oh, fuck. All right, well, you got to do something else. Like, might as well get it going. And she's just like, you got this. And on to the next thing. I think for a lot of young men, this is your decision. Either there is no women or you find the perfect one and then you commit. She understands what your life is going to look like. And that is all it is going to be. Because you'll find someone who like may want, well, let's spend more time together. Let's do this. Let's do that. To where in all reality, I mean, all I do is I don't leave my office, bro. I go on walks, I play with my son, and I work. I don't really hang out with friends on weekends. And so they need to know what they're signing up for when they commit to this. And if they come on later on, they'll get it. But at the beginning, I don't think either of you are prepared for what you're entering as far as the amount of output that is going to be needed and the amount of time that is going to take to reach the desired result. I think that is the biggest thing that most people are just, they aren't prepared for. So you think like, yeah, hey, it's just going to be this, but then it's 2 years in and like you guys are like still like clawing and getting it done, but you're not really seeing a ton of fruit, but it's working. That's when shit really hits the road for me.
Yep. I think the best thing that you can do at the beginning is have clarity. You and your spouse need to be crystal clear as far as what the expectations are going to be for the next 12 or 24 months. And you hit it on the head, bro. It's like, if you're working a W-2 and then trying to do this on the side, or even if you're doing this full time, you're going to have a year or two where you're just working your face off and you're just not going to be as available as maybe you've been, because all the free time that you used to have to insert family time or time together or whatever, that's going to get gobbled up by the business. And so I think having a very clear discussion at the beginning is important. So then that way you set expectations. And I also think there should be some type of time commitment up front. Now, you never know exactly how it's going to play out, but you as the driver, I think you need to call your shot a little bit as the entrepreneur and say, and that's what I told, it's like Jen and I, she gave me 1 year, bro. That was the beginning. And I think that year created a lot of urgency for me, because
That's
as
huge.
I started getting closer to that year, I was like, fuck, man, I'm not going back and getting a job. I was like, I put too much time into this. I know that I'm this close. And we had some really, really difficult conversations in month 9 and month 10 where she said, hey, she said to me, you need to stop fucking around and making money, or you're going to have to go get a job at like Walmart or Starbucks. And like, for me, that was the most difficult thing for me to hear from my spouse, but it was also exactly what I needed at that time, bro, because I was like, I'm never going to be in this position again. I was like, I don't care what needs to happen. I ain't working at Walmart, and I'm not going to put my wife in a position where she's got to tell me that this is what you're going to do or else type of thing, dude. And so you need to create some clarity, and you need to set a time specific goal for when you're actually going to produce a result. Don't just let it be open-ended.
I think the urgency is key. For most new people, they don't set any urgency. Or I mean, just people starting a journey, or even like with sales reps or anything else. Like if you look at just your business, at the end of the quarter, you're going to have a big pop. At the end of the year, you're going to have a big pop because there's more urgency, and you act with that urgency right there. And so 100%, I think most people don't even apply that and give themselves like, hey, I have a year, and if I don't make it happen in a year, I have to give up forever, to where that's a very binary outcome. And if you really want it, you're going to make it happen.
So let's say this. Let's say you produced the outcome, okay, and you're getting results, right? And the spouse is still not supportive, because I think that's the real question. It's all right, business is thriving, we're doing good, but we all know people like this too, where you guys are just not on the same page. Spouse is not on board with this. They're either too risk averse or whatever. If you're getting traction and the business is growing and then successful, and you don't have a supportive spouse, does then it make sense to go your separate ways and maybe call it quits within the relationship?
I think it's really complicated, right? I mean, we're giving very heated advice on a podcast with a fake Donald Trump here. I would say you have those conversations and you're like, hey, like this is our new life because I've been able to do these things. And I've had conversations with entrepreneurs whose wives have been like not supportive and then everything started to take off. I'm like, bro, you need to have this conversation. Like either we go back to scrounging around, not being able to do anything, or I continue to do this and this becomes our new normal. And then I really won't be available for the next 5 years because like nothing happens overnight. Like it feels like 5 years happen like that, but it takes a while to build shit. And then at that point in time, you're like, hey, then I'll have a lot more free time because I built a team, I have infrastructure, and we're good. Are you willing to take that time? Yep. But at a point in time, bro, my girl, I remember in when I first had Zeno, my ex-girlfriend, I kept writing, I'm going to buy a fourplex by the end of the year on Post-it notes, and I'd put it on my mirror. And she ripped it all down saying, you're never going to do that. Why do you keep putting these things up? But at that point in time, right? It's like, that's not the one.
No.
That's not the one. And it really is. And when you have kids involved, it makes things so much more complex. But if you have something that is driving you to go do something and you're like us to where we're psychotic is the best way I could put it. Like I have a drive in me that I want to go out and build shit. And I want to build big shit and I want to feel meaningful. And that's what I enjoy. This is what you are going to do for 70% of your waking life is working. Right? It's either 70% and then you're with your wife. Like it really is like a 50-50 thing if you want to think about it as like your overall. And if you don't think they're going to support you or this is what you love and the energy gets toxic and you outgrow that significant other, I think is the key term there, then it may be time to do it. And Mark Evans talks about this all the time. He's like, bro, my number one fear is outgrowing my wife. I take my wife everywhere with me so she can see what I'm doing. He writes her an email every morning to let her know what his day looks like. And that's what he's done to like keep that relationship going. So she's tied in to what's going on in the business because they're not like a husband and wife couple. And he takes her on all these like business trips with him too. Henry Washington does the same shit. Like just so they're tuned in to what's going on. And I really like that.
That's some good advice. I got a couple people on my IG, got Cameron saying true leaders continue to push through the storm, especially when it gets the toughest. Entertaining the idea of divorce is a quitter's mindset, in my opinion. Family's bigger than any business. And then Pray Love Sell says family's bigger than any business. I love that. Amen to Cameron. So yeah, man, it's tough. I think the question that you asked, Jason, about what happens when the business is getting traction, is getting some success, and there's still a disconnect, that can be just as tough, maybe even tougher, because you've worked all this time and effort to finally get there. And now it's like, dude, what the heck? Like, I can't take my foot off the gas now. And I think I can think back to some of the friction that I had in my relationship in home life when our business was getting traction and I was still taking all the calls, working all the leads. And it was a pivot point in our business too, where we were getting enough traction, but not quite enough for my own self, in my opinion, to really start hiring people. I mean, I feel like I was just barely figuring it out still after having made years of mistakes. And so it was tough because now it was like, hey, you need to get off your phone at X time because like you need to spend time with your family and you have a son now. And like, we need to set some boundaries, right? So it was those conversations of we need to set some boundaries. And so I think that's healthy. That's a healthy conversation. Yep. And it's tough. It is tough to have boundaries because, there's all sorts of sayings that we would all resonate with, the be obsessed or be average from Grant Cardone. There is no balance, right? There literally is no balance until you've had the breakthroughs to get to the point where you want to be. And so it was really those pivot points for me, Jason, to your point, where it was like, okay, I need to start hiring people and I need to start building a business. That's why I started this in the first place, to be able to start removing myself and seeing the growth continue. And that was kind of all happening at the same time. So,
I don't believe in having a family if you are a young entrepreneur. I think you should put it off as much as possible because as soon as you become a father, now you have a commitment to become the best at another thing besides your business. And that like that's the seriousness you should take with it, right? So I tell all these like younger dudes, like, bro, you don't need chicks. I promise you, when you're filthy rich, 25-year-old chicks are still gonna like dudes with money. Like I promise you, everything will be fine. But as soon as you have a child, that like it makes things so much more complicated because now you love something more than your business. And now you need to help, like you have to grow that person to be a sustainable adult, make their life amazing. And it's terrible to say, but it's a distraction against the business. And it just truly is, because the business is a distraction against the child. And so if you can put off having kids, having a family while you're building shit, your emotional life, in my opinion, will be a lot easier. That's coming from someone who had a kid at 22. Jason had a kid super young. And I mean, I was at the beginning, it was me and Zeno door knocking as I'm like rocking the infant chair, and I just take him with me. Right. And that wasn't bad. But as he got to think, Dad, why are you working so much? Now it's become hard. Right. As he can see, Daddy works a lot. Then now the dynamic really starts to change, and I have to become a better entrepreneur with my time.
Dude, this is such a good topic, bro. Yeah, Dean, you brought up something that I think resonates. It's as you become more successful, you've got to realize if you're the driver, you've asked a sacrifice from your family, your wife and your kids. You've asked them to sacrifice some time with you. So it cannot be a forever, I'm working my face off for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, like neglecting your responsibility, because you have to do that. And I have a mentor of mine here that's built 6,000 apartments in California. And he went through 2 marriages, and I had lunch with him recently. And he was like, he's told me this multiple times, and it comes up through the course of our conversations, because I'm constantly asking him about, just picking his brain and different things. And he goes, Jason, I've done it all. I've had the biggest businesses, made hundreds of millions of dollars. And he goes, you know what happens after 6 o'clock in the business world? Nothing. He goes, if my business is going to stop after 6 o'clock, if I don't answer any phone calls, nothing is going to happen. And he had a really difficult conversation with his second wife, who he's still married today, where she basically said, look, dude, if you don't get it together and start taking like more of an active role in your family, you're not going to have a family anymore, because I'm going to bounce. And that, for whatever reason, that really scared him at that point. And he just set a boundary that after quote unquote business hours, it's going to wait until tomorrow. And his business continued to thrive, and his marriage and everything is still thriving to this day, dude. And so I think it really is important. Sometimes we do get caught up in that hustle culture, man, of like, we got to be obsessed or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And you can make, that's what's cool, is you can make your reality whatever you want it to make. And Dean, you do a good job of this, dude. I think we all do, frankly. It's like we make the things that are important in our personal lives a priority, our business is a priority. And you know what is not a priority? All the other bullshit that I used to do, dude. Hanging out with my buddies and doing this, playing fantasy football, like staying on the couch, not doing anything for hours at a time. All of that stuff goes out of the window, right? And you get really, really focused on the things that are more important. And you can have both as long as you do that. And then the only other last thing that I'll add, and this is what I've learned, my firsthand experience just in my 12 years of marriage with Jen and us being together 18 years, you are going to have to adapt. Both spouses are, dude. And there was points in our marriage early on where Jennifer was like out in front of me. And I was like, if I don't get it together, dude, she's not going to hang around and just wait for me. And when I started finding lots of success in real estate, she'll be the first one to say, dude, like I started to get out in front a little bit. And to her credit, I think some spouses could say, well, he married me when I was here, so he should always love me for this. And I think progression is a constant evolution. And to her credit, she was like, there are going to be some changes that I'm going to need to make to keep the version of Jason, the man and businessman that he is now. I'm going to have to evolve and change to keep up with him and keep him happy. And it's, if you continue to grow together, and that's the most important thing, right? If one person start out pacing, you don't ever let that gap get too high. And that's where my parents divorced when I was 16 years old. And that's the one thing that my dad told me was, me and your mom, we grew apart. And when we got married 25 years ago, we were these people, and now we're just completely different people. And we just grew apart as the marriage got as we just got older, dude. And so that was one of the big takeaways I took from my personal experience. We've applied it to our marriage, and both me and Jen are adamant about that. We can even feel that distance sometimes when it happens, and we immediately recalibrate and reconnect so it doesn't get too big.
Well, and as entrepreneurs, you are always growing. And I think that's one thing that like you need to acknowledge. And that's why Mark says, don't ever outgrow your wife, because you're going to consistently be growing And our divorce rates, I would say entrepreneur divorce rates have to be like higher than cops.
Higher than normal. And the divorce rate's
Yeah.
already freaking through the roof. Yeah. So yeah, entrepreneurs has to be higher.
Yeah, I would just add to what both of you said last about this, which is going back to where friction started. It was really a communication breakdown, right? Yeah, I was going through the season of hustle. There was sacrifice on both ends, but when it started to get contentious and friction, it was because I just wasn't communicating. Like, my wife's a great communicator. She'll always share how she feels, but I wasn't doing a good job communicating what I was doing. Like, to the point you said, Stratton, of like literally saying, these are the things that I'm doing. These are the things that I'm working on. I think that's such a great little tip to take and apply, because whenever I communicate better, we're more on the same page. There's not frustration about, right, working some of that extra time or adjusting some of your schedule. If you guys can communicate, you can figure out what works. Like this morning, I took the kids to the beach and did that until, about 10 o'clock in the morning. Then I jumped on a team call, coaching call, and then, headed off to take care of some other stuff. So it's just that communication that you got to have. Otherwise, people are going to get frustrated with each other.
But this is your.
I've got a really good comment from my boy, past Deal Champs pod guest, Eric Latshaw. He said, I think most people miss building the vision at home. You need to allow spouses to see the little wins throughout the process. Belief is built by action and progress. Great comment and insight by Eric. Another fellow entrepreneur has got a huge business. And it's really, really true, dude. If a lot of times, and here's another mistake I see happening a lot with new investors, they try to force the business on their spouse. They just try to say, here's what I need help with. Can you do this? You know what I'm saying? Without questioning whether or not they want to do that, they're good at that, or they even care about any of those things. And I think you've got to curtain back slowly, integrate the spouse into certain parts of the business, have an interest in. So if it's rehabbing houses and it's design, that's the first thing that Jennifer and I used to do, is like, go look at the houses. We would go look, we would go pick material stuff together. It would be these little things that allow her to actually see, here's what's going on in the actual business, contribute an opinion and some insight. And then through that process, I think they naturally start buying in more. So you've got to find a little things that the spouse can actually get behind, and then involve them and integrate them and let their interest and their fire for the business kind of grow slowly, instead of trying to force them to do something.
I love it. You got any other comments, Dean, Jason?
Let me do some math real quick. I just got.
Xavier Major says, "This is my life you're discussing."
It's most people's lives, bro. Yeah.
I was just going to say, this business is so exciting. I was peeking at some messages. It looks like we just got a triplex under contract for $66,000 a door. So I'm pretty stoked.
Oh,
good for you guys. Congrats.
That's where I could go.
All right. What's the next one?
Jennifer says, Jennifer's in the chat. She says, I never got to pick the materials that I liked. So she's here talking me out.
The dictator for sure got to pick the material she liked.
Never got to pick.
Not only that,
right?
Not only did she get to pick the stuff, maybe she'll pop in here and join this chat here, but she's sending comments from the living room right now because she doesn't want to be on camera. Not only did we go with the stuff that she likes, but even when I knew that it wasn't going to make us any money, and I was like, dude, I guess we'll do this, I still made the decision to spend the money because I didn't want to. So at some point, you're going to have to do the math on losing money on a deal versus fighting with your spouse. And the math never works out on the deal, dude. So lose a little bit of dough on the deal so you don't have to fight with your spouse.
Jennifer, the dictator, is lying. That's my call right now. That's my call. Jen, the dictator.
Rehab budget doubled instantly.
That's right.
All right. What else we got? What are the hidden costs you have in business that nobody talks about?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Hidden costs. Man, let's talk about some of the costs out loud. So we've got, and shout them out as you're thinking about it. We got marketing. We've got tools and systems. We've got a hidden cost might be mistakes that you make, like
I think that's the biggest one.
Doing the wrong marketing or using the wrong tools, right? Employees and teammates, those are costs. hidden costs are losing money on a deal. And some of that lost money on a deal might not actually be you like having a negative profit. It could be like you estimating the rehab costs incorrectly. It could be you not being prepared and skilled enough and trained enough to negotiate that deal as good as you should have and could have, right? That's a hidden cost right there. It's let's see what else. The surprises on a flip, right? Surprises on a flip. You're flipping a house. Surprise, you open up the wall. You now got to replace this, that, and the other. What are some other ones that maybe I haven't mentioned?
I'll toss out a few. These aren't hidden, but I don't think they're as obvious when you start, but they come very obvious as you become more successful in the business. Insurance, legal fees, property taxes, and I would say anything associated with accounting, right? So let's talk about insurance, legal, and accounting. Okay, those are three big ones, right? I think a lot of times at the beginning, we're bootstrapping everything. So we're using Google, we're doing the bookkeeping on ourselves. We're not paying like professional people as partners to do this stuff. But I mean, my insurance, I mean, all three of those things are hundreds of thousands of dollars cumulatively when you add them up over the course of a year, right? When you've got hundreds of rentals, you're flipping properties like we are all the time. You've got insurance on all of those things. Property taxes is crazy. As you start getting more successful, you're going to have lawyers for legal fees, guidance on deals, getting sued, all of that stuff. And so you just never think about those things at the beginning. And you have to start putting, I don't know, I'd be curious how you guys feel about this. I probably bootstrapped it for longer than I needed to, than just coming to the decision that I'm going to bite the bullet and pay the money for good accounting advice, good legal advice, because I was just cheap and I didn't know any better, dude. You know what I'm saying? And if I had to go back, those decisions probably cost you way more money in the long term that you don't feel. You're looking at the actual cost as an expense as opposed to a long-term investment. So those are things that stand out to me when we think about that. They aren't hidden, but they become more and more obvious as you do more in this business.
The number one hidden cost I've had in this wholesale challenge, we're spending $300 to $500 a day on photos and flat fee MLS.
Ooh.
And that shit fucking adds up really fast. We're spending like $6,000 a month with like, and that's just like no return. That's just to get the deal up and running, which has been interesting to where like you gotta pay your boots on the ground. You gotta pay the flat fee MLS. You may have to send over a mobile notary that's going to cost you money. And so like all those little things have been very interesting to see like, oh, wow. So we got this one, this one, this one. And that's like a hard cost. Like I've done everything I can to get that away. But you ask a seller to take photos for you, and we did. I got 5 photos of like corners of like a room, you know?
That is one of my biggest pet peeves is pictures. Quality of picture taking. I have a whole video about it. I have a whole cheat sheet about it because, dude, I mean, you would think it would be obvious, but the corner of the room pictures kill me. It's unbelievable. Or the corner of the room and like the top right or the top left, the vent in the middle of the hallway just like blows my mind. Oh,
and
man,
so it makes sense to pay for the photos. It makes sense to pay for a good flat fee, right? Like all that shit. And that shit has added up on me very, very fast. And like, as we like, if we are doing 1 or 2 a day, bro, that's $600.
That's before money's come in too, right?
That's before money comes in. That's just to get that bitch up and running. And then we won't make money for 60 days off of that. So that's been interesting. What else? Training costs. I think the lost fee of like, you hire someone on, you train them up, they don't work out. You lost all of that time. And then the gap that person leaves who you hire on new until they're up to speed, that is all sunk costs. And I think it's like you lose that person's salary and then some when you lose someone just because of that sitting void of someone getting up to speed. And no one really talks about that, but that one hurts a lot.
Yeah, you've employed more people than all of us, Strat. So you probably have had to experience that significantly more, especially in like in a more higher turnover type of role that you've been hiring for. So that's got to be tough. I mean, you got to have your systems that much more dialed in, your training that much more dialed in, but still, you're still eating those costs.
Yeah. And the reason Call Magicians was so hard, my solution to that, to keep good people, you just pay them more, bro. But when you're playing an arbitrage on wages, you can't pay them more because the market can only bear so much, right? So yeah, we could pay them all $10 an hour. What are we going to make? $2 spread an hour? Like, we're going to go bankrupt.
You know,
Latshaw gave you a pointer in my chat. He said Ray-Ban meta glasses are game changers. The walkthroughs are incredible. Every single person walking houses should have them. I'm gonna buy them now just to test this out because I want to see them. Eric, it's a Ray-Ban brand meta glasses. Drop it. If you have a link, drop it, or otherwise just say it again.
I've
just want to
seen
make sure
them.
It's Ray-Ban.
That's wild to hear that they're that high a quality, though. That's
I'm buying them now just to see. That's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Dang, that sounds.
So are they,
epic.
Eric? Are they wearing are they sunglasses or are they like glasses, like with a clear
sunglasses,
lens, like reading glasses? They're sunglasses.
Maybe they have clear ones by now too, but I've seen the sunglass versions, and
that's awesome.
It's just like right in the corner of the glasses of the frame is where the camera is, so it's not noticeable. Who knows? Maybe they'll make one on the nose of it one day too, so maybe it's a different point of view. But yeah, I mean it's right in the frame right there.
I'll send you pics. All right, I'll shoot them over. That's it. Done. There you go. Solved your problem right there.
Done.
Shout out to Eric.
Done.
One. Already implemented in our system. Done. It's step number 5 in the walkthrough. Done.
I wish people actually knew how much he says that. Done. Yeah. It's over.
Done.
We crushed it. Over with. All right.
Never seen better glasses. Ray-Ban. They're the best ones ever. Incredible glasses. Can't believe they did it. We did it in America right here on our soil. Ray-Ban, American made. That's the American way right there, people.
Jason, you got a hard out at 3:30?
Yeah, I think we all do.
All right. What else I got?
This is good, dude. I got a ton of engagement on my end.
Any comments? Because we don't really have time to go in like 4 minutes. We don't got time to discuss.
I just got the American flag from Catfish Rich
there you go.
In the IG.
No, everybody loves the DJT outfit. Was a huge hit. Comments are going crazy for
bro. Huge
Captain
hit.
America is officially back. Sleepy Dean is dead and buried, never to be
uttered again.
Never to be uttered again. No
ever to be spoken of again. Jason, do people ever call you the master of hair? No one calls you.
I get it every once in a while. I do. You are the master of nicknames, dude. Your nicknames have staying power, bro.
I love it, bro. Like it's actually working. I'm surprised that Sleepy Dean just had so much staying power.
I did.
Ate me alive every time, dude.
How does it feel to be Captain America again? I know, like it was eating you up inside.
I need the support from the people. I need to see it coming through the DMs. Need to see the text messages again. I need that boost, that morale boost. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is the big moment. I told my wife this is a big day for me. So here we are.
Oh yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to cover 2 topics today, so we're crushing. We're getting better. I think this is the best podcast we've ever done. Great job,
banger. Yep.
Captain America.
Yep.
You guys do not forget to hit like and subscribe. If you haven't shared this with your friends, share it with your friends. We need to come up with something like Andy Frisella. Don't be a hoe, share the show. What could be ours? I need to think of something.
Master of nicknames, master of slogans needs to come up with one.
Master of slogans.
Right, Shanae just text me. Captain America is back.
Back, baby. He's back.
Back. He's back, baby. Captain America is back. You guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, let us know how you feel about these topics in the comments. That's what we need to do. We need to drive that YouTube traffic. We had someone on our last one tell us we dressed like little boys on my YouTube channel. It was like, this is why the economy is terrible, because you have people who dress like little boys talking about macroeconomics.
Yeah. Whoa.
Brutal.
I love it. Who is that person?
I got a great comment on my IG. Shout out to Senior Poncho, aka my dad. This is a great podcast. Never been a better podcast. I was saying, wow, there's never been a better podcast.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will talk to you next week.
Make podcasts great again. Let's go. Bye.
Let's go.